How you doing, Mies? About to start the stream now. Go live. It looks like it's live. Awesome. It says we're live.
Darryl Berry, that must be Chris Berry's dad.
Look, basically, because he's a runner. He ran. He ran. He made a comment on my video and ran. So yes, you can call me Chris Berry's daddy. That's what we can do. And I'm about to go ahead and play this, the ending of the clip. Then we could talk about it. I meant to stream that ending, but I'm still getting used to doing this thing. And I didn't set it up, but I didn't actually press go live. So that the whole time I thought the thing was streaming on my channel too, but it wasn't. So I'll play this part, and hopefully some of those guys can come and join too if they want. And we'll go ahead and we could talk about density and stuff. Sounds fun. Let me see here. Let me present my screen. Present window. Boom. So let me see where I join this thing. I meant to get on and talk to Oren about it, but I didn't get in time. I'm not sure why it's not letting me hear this thing. Maybe it's because it was freshly streamed. There seems to be no volume coming through the YouTube video.
That could be a YouTube thing. It might take a few minutes.
Might take a few minutes because it just stopped. Cool. Well, I could just stick the stream in later. We can go ahead and play the feather clip again. I could just have it playing while we chat. But I found it quite interesting. I think that was pretty well explained. Oh, that's why. You know why? Because I forgot that I had it on super slow motion when I was communicating with, I don't know who it was, but it's still on super slow motion. That's why it's not playing sound. That would explain it.
Well, by introducing it, you mean dropping.
So, are you able to hit a stream in the presentation? Am I presenting? Let me see.
You follow me? If there is no force to that egg, it cannot be pushing down on the scales, can it? But it does, doesn't it?
That I killed.
He can ask the fine up and down.
Thank you very much for being here, Arwin. Welcome.
With no air into free is all right, here we go.
Yeah. Let's change.
Go for it. Take it from there. You're coming up in a hangout right now. Give me a moment here.
And to think I was polite to him earlier on, fuck's sake. That was a waste.
Right, that's exactly what
I was polite to him the whole time.
I was polite to him.
Here, Al K, Arwin, Bob the Science Guy, Carlos Pagan, Darryl Berry, D-Bag, Erebus, Farmer's Boy,
I'm not hearing any sound
James
coming
Mays,
from the video.
Menace to Sobriety, Piperot, Schrodinger's Cat, Spurs Schemo, and Stingray. Really quick, maybe because Darryl, he does streams on his channel. I don't know if you want to take over this hangout and stream it on your channel. It's up to you because I'm going to close in about 10 minutes. So it's up to you or anybody else that want to take out the stream, maybe LK also. So I'll let you know in about 10 minutes. We'll do the final thoughts and then I'll get out of here.
Nope.
Carry on, guys.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna leave because I know, these guys probably need a little circle jerk afterwards. No offense, guys.
Do you know the difference?
So you always like to do that, so I'm just gonna leave because I made every bit of my argument here that I could, and if you didn't register, then that's really your problem.
Arwin,
I do appreciate having the argument, though. I do appreciate getting into this, being tested
muted on the presentation.
for what I know and what I figured out. I do appreciate that, so Thank you, gentlemen,
would you allow me to
for
ask you one
having
question
me
before you
and
go, though?
debating with me, but I'm gonna leave now. So thanks for having me, Jose.
I've never run a meter
Thank
hangout, so
Thank you very
I
much
don't
for
know how
being here,
the
Arwin. Welcome anytime.
All right.
software
See you
works.
around. Bye, guys.
It's probably something I'm doing.
Bye, turd.
And to think I was polite to him earlier on. Fuck's sake. That was a waste.
Right. That's exactly
I
what
was
I was
polite
saying.
to him the whole
You might be
time.
able to
He's
see
just,
the,
yeah, we
Dude,
were
this guy
actually
get
very
the sound
polite to him
too.
the whole time.
Over his bed.
Let me see here.
How the fuck can the ratio between materials be in disequilibrium? Please explain that to me, because I just can't.
What are you
that.
trying to present?
I think the issue is that they
feather
don't
and the
understand that more
coins
than
and-
one
Well, I'm just
force can act on
catching up everybody with
a
that
body
part of the
at any given
conversation.
time. You can have multiple forces
You know, it never ceases to
working
amaze me
in
the
different
way
directions.
flat
That's
earthers
what a
come up with these
Lagrangian
claims. We show
space.
them
A
evidence
Lagrangian point is
that,
when
to the contrary,
That's right.
and
And
then they just deny the evidence and continue running with this shot in the dark, wacky theory that they have as if it's factual, and they've got nothing to back it up.
That's right. Used to frustrate me so much. I'm working on. That's one reason why I still talk with them anyway, so I could work on not being so frustrated with these people. But I don't really think anything we do is going to change it, because I mean, just like, and that's one reason why I asked. I know he was trying to, whoever it was. I don't know whose name was that. Who that we were talking to.
Oh, Spurkismo.
That was Spurkismo. So it seemed like he was trying to spin it around as if, oh, he needs to hear from another YouTuber, needs to hear from somebody else. That's exactly why, because I've already had this experience with, when I first started talking to Flat Earth people. What happened is the person who introduced me to Flat Earth, I was making these challenge videos, and basically what I was doing was, make sure I don't talk about here. Boom. Let's go to your channel. Let's go to playlists. All right, so I was making these Flat Earth challenge videos here, and let me present my screen. We don't have to hear it, but just so you can see what I'm talking about. Present a window. Boom. All right, so that's what we'll be looking at now. So I have this list of Flat Earth challenge videos. Are you able to see the list right here? The playlist.
Yep.
So for instance, one of them here is Sun Under Clouds. This was back when the Flat Earthers was saying like the sun was 3,000 miles wide, and so on and so forth. So I basically show a video saying, hey, there's sunlight underneath clouds, and some of the Flat Earthers even use this to prove that the sun is local. So it's like, well, if we have a sun that's under the clouds, and we know how high planes fly, obviously it must mean that the sun is dragging to the Earth, whether we see this happening. Or my second challenge was astronomical predictions. Like we could predict solar eclipses and all these things, and so on and so forth. So this guy was basically saying, hey, you know what? You're talking to these people who they don't know what the Flat Earth is talking about, and they're not real Flat Earthers, or they have it wrong. You got to talk to this guy, that guy. So I'm like, okay, well, let me talk to this guy, that guy. Then he got really reluctant to let me talk to him, but eventually I shamed him enough to where he set me up with him. And one of them was DITRH, and one of them was Riley, Anthony Riley, a Sleeping Warrior. And one of the things Sleeping Warrior put forth was, the core of the Earth and Curie report and things like that. So, and I was trying to tell him, hey, I could look into this stuff and come back and talk. And he really wanted to talk about it then. He was putting forth this Curie report. But I don't really know the guy. I didn't really look at his videos yet. But after I talked with him and I looked at his videos, I found out that he had this same talk with Geo. What was his name? Geo Streeber. And he told him about the Curie point doesn't matter, and the what is it, the dynamo theory and things like that. But he still acted like he didn't hear any of that before when he was talking to me. So I noticed this honesty, just like you're saying with the Flat Earthers, and maybe in their mind they're not being dishonest. Maybe they just think they're right, but like you said, they just dismiss whatever argument was given. They dismiss whatever's given. So here we are, like I guess that what you were saying, we back full circle, and he's showing the same video, and I gave him the same exact explanation you gave. I said, you know, given that it's a vacuum, meaning it might not be a perfect vacuum, there might be a little bit of error in there, but given that it's a vacuum, clearly it would be the release mechanism, and you came back with the same thing. I was thinking more of the actual mechanical release might be imperfect, but you pointed out the fact that, hey, there might be some electrostatic clinging the feather, and we all know from dealing with balloons that a balloon, for instance, could electrostatic charge feathers or you know, linear things like that. So, like I said, I don't think any amount of explanation or evidence will help these guys because they. What do you think? I mean, I have my ideas of what it is. Like, what would you say it is that makes them just not accept any evidence at all and just, you know?
They can't admit when they're wrong. So they've made these claims. Vacuum, the feather, and the metal block, right, in the cube, and for example, all he wanted to point out was that the feather and the metal cube didn't hit the ground at the same time, but he never acknowledged the fact that instead of the feather fluttering down slowly, it dropped pretty. I mean,
That's right.
maybe there was a fraction of a second difference, but the reality of it was the important part is they essentially dropped at the same rate. And he totally ignored that fact in order to say they didn't hit at exactly the same time. So therefore, the idea of, you know, them same rate can't be true. You know?
And by the way, chat folks, I forgot to change my chat over. I'm going to change my chat over now, and I'll start going through the chats as well. Give me a moment here. I'll fix this chat browser to this current chat here, and I'll post a link again to the Hangout if anybody else wants to join. So anybody's welcome to join, flat earther or round earther, whoever it is. And give me a moment. I'll post a link, and I'll release all the info, and I'll go through the chats here for a moment.
But yeah, basically, I think they've made these claims, and they're just their personalities are that they can't admit they're wrong. So it's almost like when you tell a lie, you have to continue lying, right?
Yeah.
In order to keep that narrative going. And I think it's the same thing with their flat Earth. They've made a claim, and now they've got to continue going down that road. More excuse. Realize that their narrative now is just completely absurd. It's no longer just questioning the moon landings. They're literally denying experience, all the science that they daily lives. Like, you know, it's just ridiculous.
That's right. I had a talk with Fight the Deception. I believe that was Sunday. And one of the things I noticed he did was he went to the Hammurabi website, like one of the government websites, and he denied the fact that the Hammurabi has its own camera and has direct raw data, and was focusing only on the DCS, the relay system that it does as well. We had a whole talk where I went through this website and over pointed out the fact that it's saying raw data, no upward arrow. He was fine using the same website when he wanted to say, look, the Hammurabi's not getting his own information. It's coming from these islands and these ships and stuff. And I pointed out that that's the data collection system, is a relay system. It says it right there. I don't deny that. There's also another system where it's raw data, and that's like I bring up the site as well so you can see it. But after our talk, he went and made another video focused on the same part. But in the comments, though, when he said he didn't want to talk to me again, he said, what did he say? How did he put it? Oh, he said, you're still not accepting that most of his stuff comes from, other things. But at least he didn't say all of it anymore. So maybe it looks like I chinked his armor just a little bit, where you kind of said most of it, not just like all of it. That's it. But still, though, he pretty much just still focused on his idea that, he doesn't want to acknowledge that that's the DCS system. The people don't deny it has a data collection system where it relays things from islands and things like that. I see somebody just joined. I'm about to add you in. It looks like that is, give me a moment here, Sean Hawkins. Awesome. Welcome, Sean. But he's totally denying the fact that there's other things going on. So let me go. I'll pull up this website here, and we can show it.
The other thing that...
Oh, no. Oops, my bad. I'm back.
100% predictability accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And instead you're going to go with something and then say you have no idea what it is. You know, like, it doesn't even make sense. It makes no sense at all.
Let me check out this chat real fast. I'll see what people are saying in the chat here. Post hangout, all of a sudden he controlled the chat. Good one, Sean Hawkins. Yeah, this pretty much sums it up. All of it, you know. I saw him still in the chats there, even though he said he had to go. Very common. Chris Berry did that too. He said something on my video, and I was like, let's chat, let's talk about it. And he kept running, and finally, like, he didn't want to meet with me. I'll put it that way. And finally, I met him on. I hopped onto a chat randomly when he was there, and he left, saying he had to go, but he was still in the chats commenting. So it's common. Danny Pratt. Awesome. Well, glad the link is working for you now, Sean. Can you hear Sean?
Yeah. The what happens when you clicked on it? It included like a bunch of stuff after the after that 9-letter code.
Okay.
So you basically had to delete all the other stuff, and then it worked. So
I'll link it again and try to separate it or something better.
I put the link in the way it should have been read. So
awesome. Thank you, sir.
That should work.
Yeah, the otherwise was next to it. Beautiful. So it should work for everybody now. What's going on, C4? But yeah, man. But, you know, I've pretty much given up. Like I told C4 the other day when we were talking, I said, man, I don't even think I'm going to talk about the flat earth stuff anymore. And he was like, no, you do really well. You should. So I was like, okay, well, I'll pop in once in a while. I still find it interesting. But I'll pretty much try to do like I did that time, though, and just not argue with them. And just, you know, it's not. I don't think they're going to change their mind anyway. But for some reason, I still find it interesting. I don't know why. It just seems so interesting to see people deny stuff like that. And I guess really so I can learn myself. Like I take notes and just remind myself how you know, susceptible, how you pronounce that word, susceptible we are to denial and because the funny thing about it is, like, they'll talk to us and say, you know, you have to go to science, and you can't believe and it's about evidence and proof. And anybody who saw that chat I did with Fight the Deception, he showed this video of supposed wires in the ISS, and I'm like, do you see evidence of the wire? I don't see evidence of the wire. You could have just put one leg down, and eventually he had to admit there's no proof of a wire in the video. But up until that point, obviously he believed it because he presented it as evidence for a wire. But it took all of 5 minutes to show that there was no proof in the video of wires. But all he had was the video. He hasn't gone to the ISS. You know what I mean? What do you say, Sean?
Yeah, people see what they want to see. Our eyes and ears, and they aren't as acute as we'd think they are. A prime example is you're driving your car, you stop at a stoplight, you got traffic on either side of you, and you're looking down, like looking at your phone or whatever, and you see out of the corner of your eye movement. What's the first thing you do? Slam on those brakes, because your eyes have told you that you're moving when you're not.
I know what you mean. Okay,
there was an experiment that they did. It was a whole series of like shows on Discovery or something like that on perception, on how we see the world. And they had waiters, seasoned waiters, who can walk through a crowded buffet room without spilling a drop on 10 cups of coffee on a tray held straight over their head, right? These guys are no balance. I mean, balance is their tool.
Okay.
And they put them on a platform in a long hallway that was vertically striped. And the thing they didn't know is that hallway moves. That hallway, they can shift it forward and backward because it was on wheels. And they were told to look straight ahead and hold that tray perfectly still. And as soon as they started moving that hallway, it looked like they got shot up with heroin. They just completely lost all control.
In other words, you're saying that the hallway didn't physically move? It was like an illusion that made it look like it moved?
No, it did move.
Okay.
They could physically move the hallway. It was on wheels. And they couldn't handle it. everything about them physically said they were standing still, but optically, it just messed them up.
Yeah, I have a similar example. I don't know how my audio is right now, but I've been walking through a Navy ship when it's moving, but I don't feel any movement. But when I look out the hangar bay door and see the water moving, all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to fall over. But nothing has changed.
You say where was it that you walked?
So I'm on a ship at sea, and all I can see is the space around me. I can't see the outside. I can't see the water because there's no windows. So I feel like I'm rock solid, even though the ship's doing 18 knots. But then when I walk by a hangar bay door and I can see the water, and it appears that the water's rushing by, all of a sudden I get dizzy for a second until my brain reacclimates to the things that I'm seeing.
That's right. But the actual forces on you didn't change at all.
Yeah, we didn't speed up, slow down, or turn. I just saw the water moving.
Awesome. Same.
An interesting story about that. When I was a kid, I mean a toddler, we went. My dad was in the Army, and they didn't have plane flights for most people for the Army. So the first time I went to Europe, first 3 times back and forth was by ship, by a Navy cruiser, or some ship. I'm not sure. It was a personnel carrier. So that's how we got there. And I remember asking my mom to rock me to sleep. She's like, oh, honey, please just let the boat do it. She was sicker than a dog.
Yeah. But at least we know there's hope, though. Like Sean G was a flat earther, and Jose was a flat earther. Bandsaw was a flat earther. So what do you think is the difference between those guys and the ones that don't accept anything?
They had the balls to step away from the clique and look at things with a critical mind.
Yeah. Critical thinking. I think that's the main separation. I mean, that's what separates indoctrination from education is the word critical.
Okay.
Indoctrination is is forcing information on someone that has not been critically considered, or something like that.
Interesting you said that, because they don't even realize they're indoctrinated. Like Fight to the Session, when he just believed that Wire video, obviously he didn't critically think about it, because I wouldn't have had to point out that there's no evidence for a Wire. So it's interesting that their belief system includes the belief that they don't have a belief system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm so thankful, man. I'm so thankful I'm not trapped into that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's probably one reason why I look as well. I'm like, thank you that I think more logically than that, because I can't imagine. I guess they don't. Of course, they don't realize they're trapped into a delusion. They think that is right or whatever, but I can't imagine, man.
Yeah, it's like Arwen came on here and he was all calm because in his head he had everything worked out. He thought about it and he's like, this is foolproof. I got him. And then he came on here and boom, 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 knocked down like pins.
That's right.
And he gets frustrated because now his thinking doesn't work.
And that's why he ended up leaving, right?
Yep.
And you're right, because when I was talking with Fight to Deception, according to what I saw on the website, what he pointed out, I actually thought the Hammurabi just took one photo, but apparently it does put the data in piece by piece. That doesn't change the fact that it's out there and doing what it's doing, and it's far enough to see the Earth in one view. But I wanted to admit when I'm wrong and learn things. But apparently he's not willing to acknowledge the DCS is separate from the main function of the Hammurabi.
Yeah.
But what can you do, man?
It's funny. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Do your thing.
It's funny you mentioned like composites, and like the only thing they'll accept, I've heard, is Polaroid. Yeah, Polaroid's proof because it's not composite. You can't edit it. No, you can manipulate it, and it's it's created from a 3-die layer composite. So yeah, it's even that is. But they just don't understand what a photograph is. I mean, if I take a panoramic of your family at a reunion, you know, I can't get wide enough to take everyone in the, you know, group.
That's right.
I have to do a composite, you know, a panoramic shot by shot and see them. Does that mean your family vanishes because they're not real anymore?
I use the analogy of you know, like exactly, like, because it's really like shot after shot after shot after shot. I use the example if you're taking a shot in a room, or if, let's say, if you have a building that's very wide and you're standing right in front of it, so you take one shot here and you move a little bit, and you take one shot here and you move a little bit, take one shot there, and you have, let's say, 20 shots. If you take and piece those together in Photoshop, so you have one long shot, is it no longer a building anymore? But still. You say I have an echo gently? Let me see if I can fix that.
Not an echo here.
What about now? Is the echo gone? Is it better? I'm still getting used to it.
I'm not hearing an echo.
Oh. Well, probably because y'all hearing me in the Hangout, though. They're hearing me in the on the YouTube. I'm still getting used to this streaming and everything. I'm not familiar with all this stuff. At least I figured out how to stream right away. I didn't realize there was two different. There's still the old, the classic YouTube stream thing, and that thing is just difficult as hell. But I'm still figuring out this program here. I was playing around with it earlier. It looks like I turned on multiple streams of mic, but now I muted the other ones. But I was wondering what that was going to do.
Hey, Sean, what were you saying about Daniel Pratt? Did he quit hanging up the skates?
Yeah, he just put out a video a few minutes ago saying he's going to focus on raising his kids, and he wants to start a homeschool business, like making candles or something.
I'll go ahead and mute Mr. P for his wordage. So, are y'all into UFOs and extraterrestrials and things like that, by the way?
Not really.
Ah, cool.
I wouldn't say I'm into them. There's life out there somewhere. I just don't think that they've come yet. You know what I mean? And my reason for that is, if aliens came to Earth and we were superior to them, we'd have known about it, because we'd have kicked their arse and stolen their technology. And if it was the other way around, if they were superior to us, there's no way our governments would be smart enough to deal with a situation like that without just being taken over, you know?
Interesting.
So, but I do think they're out there, because I can't, it doesn't make sense to say that there's life on Earth, but nowhere else in this infinitely vast universe. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
If they're out there, they're silent.
Interesting.
Well, here's my take on it. I wouldn't walk across the street to go talk to some ants and see their thoughts on philosophy and science and things like that. So any civilization that is sufficiently advanced to perform intergalactic travel would look at us, and we have nothing for them. So they might like slow down as they pass and like, oh, okay, that's cool. But why would they stop?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, you never know. They could have, like, you know, somebody could have spun by and checked the place out. But like you say, if there's an back 40 of your property, you're not going to check it out, you know? And most of the UFO sightings are like easily debunkable. Like, if you look at like the late 60s, early 70s, we had
okay, you'd be cool.
in the late 60s, early 70s, we had this influx of triangular shaped UFO sightings. And then we find out that the first bomber prototype was airborne in 69. That could, and could you imagine 1973, you see an aircraft at nighttime that's shaped like this? You're going to think it's an alien craft too, right?
I can certainly see that. If you haven't seen anything like that before, I can certainly see people mistaking it for an extraterrestrial craft. We have Earth is Seriously Flat joining. Welcome, Earth is Seriously Flat.
Thank you so much, brother. How are you?
Doing good.
Let's keep in mind also that since the advance in smartphone cameras have come online, UFO sightings have decreased.
Interesting. Where did you get that data from?
I plagiarized it. I admit I did plagiarize it from Dr. Tyson.
From who?
Neil deGrasse Tyson. I have not independently verified this, but he said it, and I didn't see 1,000 videos saying he was wrong. So I'll take him at his word for the time being.
Interesting. Yeah, I would like to see where he got that data from. Sounds interesting though. It sounds as if to mean that like in other words, there's some background noise. I'll mute you for now. Earth is Seriously Flat. Just let me know when you want to talk so we could limit the background noise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just I'm ready to talk anytime. Would you guys have any questions? How to jump off the demonic spinning ball?
I don't mind going back to Flat Earth talk and Round Earth talk.
Oh, okay. Well, if we're about UFOs, I have a comment about that.
Oh, okay. Well,
UFOs
let him finish though. If you can hold your comment, I would like to hear what he was saying about we were talking about the videos. I was going to ask him what is he saying the implication is for that, and I'd be happy to hear what you have to say about it as well. What were you saying, Schrodinger? Or was that Menace? I'm still learning everybody's voices. Like, what would you say the implication is that there's less videos, given that's true, that there's less videos with cell phone technology available?
Right. My only comment on that was, isn't it funny that we have greater ability to take snapshots of these things, but now you can't just go out there and say, oh, look, I saw this UFO, they beamed down and everything. What would your first question be? Well, did you take a snapshot of it? Because everybody has a phone. Well, pretty much everybody has a phone, and pretty much all those phones have cameras.
Oh, in other words, you're saying not the photos are going down. You mean the reports are going down, like reports of seeing things. Oh, I gotcha. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for sharing, man.
I also want to ask, Earth is Seriously Flat, how did your experiment go the other day?
Well, we're all submitted. It's the early stages. We're submitting everything to the main source, and we have a video what we did about 3 years ago, also of the end result. So you guys to have a little idea how this whole thing works, how we tabulate all the numbers at the end, and to see a perfect model of how the sun is rotating around the North Star. So that's coming up soon, but we could definitely share some video footage of the past historical events that when we're done.
Did I hear you say you're making a model? A model of the rotation of the sun?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's part of that ongoing investigation. And today is Flat Today, and we're going to be having a Flat Earth meetup here in Sunset Beach.
Oh, sounds nice. And what were you going to say about the ETs or UFOs or what have you?
Yes, we did some research. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy. His name is Flat Earth British. He talks about the antiquity technology. Talks about how there has been these resets, and a lot of the churches, cathedrals that we didn't build, they were from past other civilization, different knowledge, and they had UFOs, anti-gravity, no diseases, electrostatic energy harnessing. It's a completely different civilization. It's a different paradigm.
You're saying completely different Earth civilizations.
It's these civilizations. Imagine a civilization where there is no hunger, there is no war, there are no diseases, there's free energy. Well, this happened not too long ago. It was here on Earth. For example, Los Angeles. You go to the Griffith Observatory. The Griffith Observatory is a power plant, a Tesla coil, and it can distribute energy to 26 miles all the way to Long Beach. And we have different buildings over here that are Tartarian. We call them Tartarians because it has the antiquity technology of harnessing electrostatic energy. And we have been robbed, basically. That's what we see. The evidence suggests that they stopped the movement of having free energy. They stopped Tesla. They've been doing that because they wanted to keep us in an imaginary world that we're just aimlessly rotating, tilted towards the black hole, basically in a nutshell. And we could die any minute by an asteroid hitting us up in the ass anytime. So it's very pessimistic, the glove mentality. On the other hand,
and make sure I'm
as a matter
understanding
of fact,
properly
we're
as we
having
go.
a time capsule event.
And to make sure I'm understanding properly as we go, are you saying that the so I mean, judging by your name, of course, you're certain that the Earth is flat, and you're making a thing with the sun rotating. So are you saying that the globe is a lie that was made to sort of make pessimism and fear amongst the people, sort of?
More like if I give you an island full of babies, and it's up to you to give them the narrative. What narrative you're going to give them? Is you're going to choose to give them fantasies like Santa Claus, fairy tales? You know, we want to have a civilization where we teach children how to test what we teach.
Well, no, let's stop. Let's go one step at a time. Now, don't go too fast. So right now you're saying that basically, from what I'm understanding from you is like let's say when a scientist says that they studied a star and they know is 1,000 light years away and is made of hydrogen and so on and so forth. Your position is that they're just repeating what they're told?
No, my presumption is that when a scientist with a lab coat tells you that when you see the North Star at 432 light years away from here, and then you see Orion at 250 light years ago, and then you ask them, okay, so how did you get to that conclusion? And then when you look into an encyclopedia of how do they get to that conclusion, it's just a matter of size on points. They have different points, and it's just wild astronomical speculations.
So let me ask you this:
everything you could see is within the vanishing point.
Well, one moment. Let's make sure we go a step at a time. So you just said that when they establish the distance of a star from the Earth, they're just guessing based upon the size. Is that what you said?
Yeah, those are just wild speculations.
Okay. So let me ask you, what evidence do you have that that's their process? Like, where did you learn, or how did you learn that that's their process?
I looked into it about an encyclopedia about the universe. How did they figure that out?
Okay, where's that link? Let's see it. Like, where's that link so we can look at it as well?
No, it's a book. It's a book.
Well, where is it?
I had a conversation. I told you how I found that out. I had a conversation with a lady that takes the pictures on the land rover in Mars. So we were having a conversation about what signal are they receiving, and what type of is it JPEG, is it GF? GFI, what kind of package they get that back, the feedback of the photograph that she just took, So we're going through all of this stuff.
Okay.
So she's showing me basically where all these distances are, and that's how I learned. It's just by asking questions.
But
we're having a flat earth meetup over here, and I gotta get ready. I'm gonna be. Let me show you a little bit of what we're doing here.
Well, I mean, I want to actually here to discuss. I'm not here to sort of like advertise a flat Earth event, basically. But I mean, if you want to come back and discuss, let me know.
Okay, no problem. Well, this is what I have to say in a nutshell, brother. Just test the glove. That's what we got to start with the curvature, because there's a lot of speculations out there. And find two stationary points where there's a body of water in between. And we have one right here 30 miles away. Carolina Island, and we see 2 points, 2-point harbor at 30 miles away that topographical maps only dictates it's only as high as 37 feet high. At sea level where we are, we can see it, and it's supposed to be hidden at 555 feet. So there's a lot of inconsistencies on the numbers the glove is giving us. So that's why the flat earth is winning.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, man. Whenever you have the time to have a full conversation, let me know. I'd be happy to
Thank you,
speak with
brother.
you. No problem.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Great channel.
Thank you. Bye-bye. What do y'all say, guys? Y'all still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I wish he had more time to talk about his source. I remember he was saying he got it from an encyclopedia. I thought I heard him say, and then he started saying he spoke to this lady who was taking pictures with the Mars rover, I think. So, yeah, I would want to nail that down, but I'm sure any of us who research stars in any way know that that's not how to get the distances. So, what is interesting?
Yeah, he's a strange bird, him.
I think I'm presenting myself. There we go. Let's see. Oh, Ronnie says scientists are lying to us on purpose. Just answer the questions honestly, seriously. So come on, Ronnie. Come on and tell us about that. Um, that's one of the things I like hearing about. I like, I don't know, just hearing people's logic and reason. And I would say really it's just to help me with my own reasoning because I am into like, not as much as I used to be. But I am into like ETs and UFOs and out of body experiences, and I've done enough experiments to verify for myself that it's real. But it motivates me to want to do even more experiments and more uh, um, what's the word, rigorous experiments to raise it to a higher level. So starting to motivate me to practice again. Are you coming on, Ronnie, so you can tell us about your about the scientist line and things like that? Cool. What else on your mind, man? Maybe I'll talk for another 10, 15 more minutes, then go get me something to eat or something. And by the way, I can go ahead and stream that conversation real fast. I wanted to get that conversation added to the video. Let me see if I can find it. In case anybody missed it, this is the conversation that was had towards the end of on Sean G's one that this is a continuation of. Not Sean G's, but I mean Jose JG Gonzalez's. And I think y'all should be able to hear it on the video. I know it wasn't playing
Have multiple forces
on the Hangout.
The final thoughts.
So basically, what happened is this guy came on talking about densities, basically saying density is the reason for basically the effects that we know is caused by gravity. And there's this video, well, there's several videos online of things being dropped um, through vacuums, and we can see the fact that things of different densities fall at the same speed. I wanted to ask him this question. His name was Arwen, thinking about it, but he had left by the time I got on, but somebody else jumped to it. And let me see Gently's comments real fast. Solar panels, wind turbines, nuclear fusion, and fission are all subject to thermodynamics. There can be no more energy in the system than the total sum of the mass of that system. Yes, I would agree, Gently's channel. Those things are not examples of free energy. They might be more clean energy or energy that we don't have to burn something or add something in manually. We could just take it from the air or from the waves or what have you. But according to my research, there are free energy devices that pull energy from space and things like that. So that people in certain corporations and things know about. But I don't have any proof of that. It's just things that I've read from sources that I trust. But I'm certain that it's true based upon my looking into it. But I'll take and play this conversation real fast.
Does not cause displacement. No, it's relative density.
Equilibrium. How do you?
Word that I use.
My question
is... You said no.
And I said as soon as it finds its equilibrium, then there is no longer a force, because the force is
Arwin, you don't really understand what force is.
How can I weigh the egg?
Really don't know how to let somebody
the force is gone, Arwin. The force is no longer there. How do I weigh the egg in the water? You follow me? If there is no force to that egg, it cannot be pushing down on the scales, can it? But it does, doesn't it, in the real world?
Yes, it
because
can.
It's experiencing...
Yes, it can.
How? There's no force.
It can.
Where's the force come from, Arwin? You just said there was none.
That's very simple.
How does it push down on the scale?
I think I'm a bit too early in the video.
So it's up to you or anybody else that want to take out the screen. Maybe I'll K also. So I'll let you know in about 10 minutes. We'll do the final thoughts, and then I'll get out of here. Gotta go to work. Carry on, guys.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to leave because I know, these guys probably need a little circle jerk afterwards. No offense, guys.
Do you know the difference?
So you always like to do that, so I'm just going to leave because I made every bit of my argument here that I could, and if you didn't register, then that's really your problem.
Arwin,
I do appreciate having the argument, though. I do appreciate getting into this, being tested for what I know and what I figured out. I do appreciate that, so... Thank you, gentlemen,
would you allow me to
for
ask you one
having
question
me
before you
and
go,
debating with me, but I'm going to leave now. So thanks for having me, Jose.
Can ask the fines
I'll
up
see
and
you
down.
later.
Thank you very much for being here, Arwin. Welcome anytime.
All right. See you around. Bye, guys.
Bye, turd.
And to think I was polite to him earlier on. Fuck's sake. That was a waste.
Right. That's exactly what
I was
was
polite
just
to him the
thinking.
whole time.
I was
He's
polite
just...
to him.
Yeah, we
Dude,
were
this guy
actually very polite to him the whole time.
Over his bed.
How the fuck
think
can the
maybe
ratio
the
between
disconnect
materials
is-
be in disequilibrium? Please explain that to me, because I just can't understand that.
I think the issue is that they don't understand that more than one force can act on a body at any given time. You can have multiple forces working in different directions. That's what a Lagrangian point is in space. A Lagrangian point is when all of the various gravities equal out, and that's why the body doesn't move, because everything's pulling on it in different directions, but in equilibrium.
Equally, yes.
I wasn't in the whole
relative
after show,
density.
Lenny.
All you're saying is, like salt water. Salt water has a relative, I believe.
So coming up soon,
because that's comparing it to just
I'll
ordinary
present this
water.
video.
That's it. How can that be in disequilibrium?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Is you coming up in a hangout right now? There it is, right here.
Yeah, you can present either a window or the full desktop.
Window. Let me see here. Present a window.
To the window. To the wall.
Boom.
Oh, shoot, I'm not on mute. Sorry.
It says an error
You
has
are
occurred.
up.
Let me see. It is presenting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Y'all can see the feather and coin right there where it says that.
Well, once you start playing it, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, once
Go
I
for
play,
it.
you'll be able to see.
I think I might have seen this one before. Or something very similar.
Talk about it while the video is playing.
Awesome. So looking at this video, the guy has some feathers and it has a coin, and we all know that a feather is a lot less dense than the coin, right? So the logic would be if it's all relative density and things like that, then a feather should always fall slower than a coin because the feather is less dense. But this guy here will go ahead and suck all the air out of the tube there, which means that all you'll have is just some feathers in the coin. So all we're dealing with now is density, the density of the two different objects with nothing interfering with them. But as we'll be able to see in a moment, the coin still still fall. I mean, excuse me, the coins change and fall at the same pace as the feather. So, whereas before with the air up in there, the coins was falling faster and the feathers were interfered with by the air. Oh, and what's going on based upon what I've read, gently and Acme virus. Uh, it's similar to how we get energy from solar radiation. Like we're not creating energy where it's not there. We simply put a solar panel there to collect radiation from the sun that's streaming from the sun. Or apparently there's ambient energy that can be tapped into in a different way, but it's similar. So it's just like it's not energy that's coming from nowhere. It's energy that's in existence, but it's a different way of tapping energy. So if you're not willing to talk, sir, if you're not willing to come on and talk, and then you're saying, uh, there's nothing to talk about, but then you're still talking in the chat, then I'll probably just end up muting you or something. That's probably be my future handling of flat earth believers. If you have something to say, then come on and say it. Don't be invited on, then be like, well, is there anything really to talk about? And then you're still blabbering in the chat. So if you really have some proof or want to point out something is not proof, then come on and present it. And then you could just show how right you are. I'll keep on going with the video. Without any interference, we'll see that the coins and the feathers fall the same exact speed. So that would, unless a flat earther or somebody who believes that it's relative density and it's not gravity at all can explain it, I mean, we must have to conclude that there's some other force that's acting upon the coins and the feathers in the same exact way. And this is me talking from Jose's chat earlier. And we can see that when there's no interference with error. So I was actually coming on to ask Aaron that he might have sensed the evidence coming and ran at that moment, but I don't know. But she's gonna show it close up as well without the error, and you can see that the coins and the feathers clearly. And just so you know, see Montreal, going forward, I'll be ignoring your comments unless you want to actually come on and talk and present your evidence and so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. They fall at the same pace with no air interfering with them. So that shows what happens when there's two different densities just with nothing interfering with them at all.
Go to Darryl. Go to Action Labs in Google.
Go to what?
Action Lab. Action Lab.
Action Lab.
So
this is where, unfortunately, I don't know who it is that's talking right now. Oh, he said this is Berkismo. This is Berkismo talking apparently.
Vacuum test. Action Lab. Yeah. Feather and I'm not sure what. Yeah, just try like that one. See what comes up. All right. So yeah, go to this one. If
right here.
Yeah,
on the left
one. So I'm about to show you the trickery that you guys are trying to pull on us.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Let's go big screen. Let's go big screen. Let's make the screen nice and big. Because remember, that guy was touching that vacuum. Anything could have been a variable there that we haven't accounted for. So, he goes through the video here. He's telling us it's ball and feather, magnetite.
Not this again.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
Farmer's boy, be patient.
Do we have to keep repeating the same old shite?
Be patient. One of your guys believe that things fall at the same rate.
But
I'm about to demonstrate.
Can you piss off and troll somebody?
I'm about to demonstrate, Farmer's boy, to your.
You ain't demonstrating jack shit. We've seen this before.
I don't know who's talking anymore, guys. Who was it that was somebody making a rebuttal?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why Farmer's boy is jumping in when I'm showing you that things do not fall at the same rate. All right.
Okay. So let's hear Channel Q and see what he has to say. So what were you saying, Channel Q?
I don't know why he keeps on interrupting when I'm trying to, because he knows that he's seen this.
Well, we know Jose is about to get off, so just go ahead and break it down. I think he's going to let you talk now. So what are you saying, Channel Q?
All right. Okay. So skip to 2 minutes. Let's get to
okay.
the
Okay. Let me go ahead and get this worked out for you. Well, we could work it out now, sir. I mean, what error was it that happened when you tried to join? Like, what was it that happened when you tried to join? You just may have to try a few times. I've heard people say that they had an error when they clicked it, but usually if you click it a few times, it'll work. Just give it a try or two. So I had, I believe, 2 or 3 people joined all together here today. So well, I'm happy to speak with you about it as well, gently. Come on, and you could, while it's with your mastery of physics. So just join the link and we can talk about it. Maybe you can see if you can help him get on as well. Awesome. Give me a moment here. I'll click it. Oh, that must be. There we go. He got in. What's going on, Montreal? So I'll go ahead and put a pause in the video replay, and we can go ahead and talk. So what do you want to start with first? I believe you were saying something to the effect there's water. I mean, not water pressure, but air pressure. You made a comment of not needing a container. So what do you want to start? I could try to get all of the points that you made.
Well, that's a pretty good place to start.
Okay, let's go. Welcome, gently. Thank you for joining. So we can go back and forth if you want. We can start with the air pressure with Montreal.
Okay, sure.
So go ahead, make your point.
So explain to me how that's. Well, explain to me how you can have air pressure without a container. Very simple.
Let me ask you this: Have you yourself researched how or tried to learn how?
Yes, I know all the so-called scientific mumbo jumbo, but it makes absolutely no sense.
So to make sure I'm understanding properly, you've already researched what the current scientific understanding is, but you're asking me to tell you anyway. Why?
No, I'm not asking you. I'm trying to school you on the matter.
Then
it's
what
impossible
I'm saying is,
to have gas.
So if you're trying to school me, then school me. Then let me know what's going on, and I'll see if I can poke holes in what you're saying.
Sure, very simple. All I need is 30 seconds.
Okay.
Go for it.
May I?
Yeah, I'm waiting. That's why I invited you on.
Okay, sure. Very simple. Very simple. A 2-year-old child can understand this. Go to the garage station and ask the garage station attendant to put air in your tire without the tire.
And what does that prove exactly?
That proves exactly that you can't have air pressure without a container, sir. There's no way around that. There's nothing you can say.
In his defense,
well, if that's your position, then I'm happy to agree to disagree. What do you want to say, gently?
How can you disagree?
Well,
how?
Well, because this is what you're doing. You're taking one scenario, the fact that we can encase air in a container and change the pressure of that air compared to the outside pressure. So, for instance, you can take a metal cylinder and let's say put oxygen in it, like the oxygen tanks in hospitals, and you can put that oxygen under immense pressure. So the pressure is different from the air outside. So we can demonstrate that we can put air in a container and have it a different pressure. But that does not in itself negate the fact that we're on a planet in which the molecules of air are being held down by by gravity, and that there's air pressure from that. So just pointing out one instance of a variation of air pressure does not negate any other option or any other possibility. So that's apparently is what you're not seeing. So just saying you need a tire to put air in a tire to put it on your car. Well, of course. I mean, that's how tires work. It's like a rubber encasement for air pressure to hold a car up, to hold thousands of pounds up on a road and go over bumps and stuff. But in no way does that prove that it's impossible that there's a globe with gravity that's holding air in it. So again, that's not really an argument to disprove the globe or in any way disprove the current understanding of the way air pressure works on the planet. So you have to do more than that.
it's a vast oversimplification.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you people anymore. If you want to actually present some evidence that's going to actually do something, then that's fine. But just pointing out how a tire works, that doesn't do anything to prove or disprove the globe. Do you want to add something, Gently's channel?
As regards to what I was talking about to you, or to
Certainly. Let's go to your point. We can go back and forth. It looks like you were talking about transforming. Oh, sorry. We're talking about transforming energy, and you were saying that transforming energy is not a problem, Darryl. Solar, wind, hydroelectricity into electricity, etc. into electricity. Perpetual motion type energy, however, using energy to make more energy is impossible. So yes, let's go.
Yeah. Well, that completely violates the second law of thermodynamics. You can't have more energy in the system than the total mass in the system.
Okay.
So any energy you're going to find is already there. It's just in a form, and you wish to change the form of that energy to suit your need. You're not actually making any energy. You cannot create energy. You cannot destroy energy. You just merely change its form.
We're in agreement then. We're in agreement.
All right. No, that's in the chat, someone was disagreeing with that, and I was trying to highlight the point, and then I thought you were agreeing with them at one point. I don't know.
Well, it's hard in the chat. Let me just explain what I was saying. I know, and maybe you missed when I said this in it, and maybe I didn't even say it in the chat. Maybe I said it, but this is my understanding. And again, I don't have access directly to this technology. This is things I've read over the years, and from people I trust, like Stephen Greer talks about this technology, for instance. Basically, and Bashar, who's channeled by Darryl Unka, talks about sort of this technology. But basically, it's like when we think about solar panels, right? We have a solar panel doesn't create energy. Like the sun is radiating, and you put something there that captures the solar radiation, and as you were saying, it transforms that solar radiation into a different type of radiation, right? A different type of energy that we can use. We in agreement?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So my understanding is just like how there's solar radiation that's just radiating, you can capture it. There's a different type of energy in or behind space itself. And there's different ways you can make sort of antennas or capturing devices where you can capture that energy and transform it into...
just to stop you there. Do you mean outside of space-time?
Like I said, I don't really have the technology myself. I don't fully understand the way it works. It's either the energy of space or some kind of energy.
I've got to stop you there. You're not going to go outside of space-time to derive energy from anything. The only thing we don't know about energy at the moment is dark energy, which, as far as we can tell, that only has anything to do with gravity and acceleration. That has nothing to do with actually being able to turn it into electric. I don't know who's told you that, but literally anyone telling you that is saying that they can break the second law of thermodynamics, or they are literally proving E equals mc squared to be false. Anyone falsifying that, well, that's ridiculous. They would either be an absolute genius or a complete moron.
Well, let me let you know, I'm not trying to have an argument with you. And what you did just now, you argued something that I didn't even make. I said clearly I don't really have the technology. I don't understand fully how it works. I'm just giving you the general idea. And I said...
I thought you were referring to something outside of space-time.
I mentioned that, but I didn't mention it as a definite. I'm saying I don't know. Maybe it's energy in space. Maybe it's energy just outside or beyond space. But whatever the case is, I'm just pointing out the fact that just like how solar energy is captured, wherever this energy comes from, wherever it's at, it's an energy that's there, that's captured as well. Maybe in an antenna sort of way, or maybe some other sort of way. But that's my that's where
if you're saying if you're saying it's already energy that's already existing in the universe, that's absolutely fine.
Exactly.
Of course you can use that. I've got no problem with that. It's the creation of energy that wasn't there beforehand. It amounts to perpetual motion. Completely impossible.
That's not what I was saying. So now we're on the same page then. Wherever the energy is at, I can't tell you exactly where it's at or which form it's in or what have you, but my understanding of the way this technology works is it captures that energy, just like how a solar panel might capture energy, but it's more plentiful than solar energy. It's not like, you can only capture it in the daytime and it has to be focused at the right angle.
No, I mean, when you think about the solar wind, etc., I mean, it's just charged ions. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't gather that and turn it into electrical energy. It's absolutely, absolutely fine, absolutely abundant as well. So, yeah, no problem with that.
And give me a moment, guys. I got to pee. I'll be right back. Give me a moment.
But what we would also have to do is consider the technology we would have to derive to harness any of this electricity that we're talking about that may just be floating around. So is the juice worth the squeeze?
Sorry, you're breaking up there, Schrodinger. I can't quite hear you, mate.
Isn't it true that you can't destroy or create energy?
You can't destroy or create energy, no.
You can only change its form.
Correct.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, what I was saying was, hopefully my audio is slightly better now.
Marginally, mate.
Okay, sorry. If there's this energy just floating about, we would have to derive technology to be able to harness it. So would it even be worth it? Would we spend more deriving this technology than we would get out of this floating energy?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Does it cost more to get? That's the problem. This is why Tesla coils don't give out more energy. Obviously, you need to plug them in for them to work, which was part of what I was talking about in the chat with somebody. Back to the pressure thing.
Thank you for your patience, guys.
Yeah,
right,
no problem.
So where we went, where we jumped into for that moment there.
I was just about to address SE Montreal about his pressure container conundrum.
Okay, let's go back to that. Awesome.
I don't know whether he realizes that pressure is just an act of energy. So when he's talking about pumping up your tire, you're talking about putting a load of energy into the tire. However, when you think about the size of the atmosphere, the amount of energy that would require isn't present. So it's an equivalence fallacy.
So to make sure I'm understanding properly, you're making the flat Earth argument that there's no container to make the pressure on the planet and the globe. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not making a flat Earth argument. I'm just arguing against what he just said.
That's my argument.
What were you arguing?
Well, I was arguing that you cannot have gas pressure without a container.
Okay, I was just
very simple.
I was just literally telling you that pressure is an act of energy. So you don't need a container to contain energy. It's just a
okay, sir. Give me one example of that.
A tire. You want a large amount of energy in a small confined space. You need a container. If you want a normal amount of energy or an average amount of energy, you don't need to contain it because the energy can only spread as far as its energy will allow it.
Okay, show me one example of this on Earth. Just one, and you win.
Pressure gradient in the atmosphere.
Pressure first before you have a gradient, sir. It's obvious.
Say it again, please. Montreal?
You need... Yes, sure. You need a container to have pressure gradient. You first have to have pressure, then the gradient.
Okay, let me try to see if I can clarify what Gently's saying. What Gently is saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, like right here on ground level, there's a certain amount of pressure. But then when you go to the top of Mount Everest, let's say, there's less air pressure. Do you understand that or agree with that or accept that, C. Montreal?
Of course.
So in between ground level and the top of a mountain, there's no barrier or membrane separating these two differences in pressure. So how do you account for that when there's not something separating, like a barrier making, separating this amount of pressure on the ground, and then another barrier separating this amount of pressure at the top of a mountain, and another barrier separating this amount of pressure up where an airplane is at? How do you account for that?
You're going ahead of yourself here. Like I said, first you need to have pressure, then the gradient occurs.
Okay, so please.
If you have no pressure, you have no gradient.
So you're saying that in the tire, there's a pressure gradient inside the tire. It's not just like 40 psi. There's a pressure gradient inside the tire. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. So, the Earth is a dynamic system. That's why it has a pressure gradient.
So what is the container?
It's dynamic. There's winds. Sorry?
What is the container for the Earth?
We don't know, but we know the antecedent for gas pressure is a container. I don't know. I'm not claiming there is. I'm just saying there has to be.
Okay.
No. You misunderstand. Pressure is an act of force, of energy. Pressure isn't an act of a thing itself. If you expend all the energy, you flatten the battery. So if you shoot a rocket up in the air and it's electrically powered or any kind of, as soon as that battery runs down, it will stop moving. This is the same with any particle with energy. So when you measure the pressure of a particle, that's when it's got energy. When it expends all its energy, it can no longer move. It can't go off into space because it can't even reach space. It doesn't have the energy to travel that far. Do you understand?
I get what you're saying. It just does not make sense.
It doesn't
like
make
I said,
sense.
You have to have a container to have pressure, period. You cannot go beyond that.
Okay, let's make a different point then. What if you had a vacuum and I injected an air pump into it? Okay. Inside that vacuum, all of a sudden, there will have been pressure, yes? So, you don't need the container. What's the container doing? You don't need it to have pressure.
Are you serious?
Yes. Pressure.
Come on. You
pressure,
cannot believe this.
Pressure is a measure of energy and nothing more. If you have...
Pressure is not a measure of energy. Pressure is something pressing on something that creates the PSI, pounds per square inch.
And can I ask how you press on something if you don't expend any energy doing so?
I never said you don't expend energy.
Okay, so...
That's your words,
then,
not mine.
No, that's literally what you just said. You just said, it's not pressure, it's something pressing on... Yes, I know. You have to expend energy to get pressure. This is my point. There's no differentiation between the two. The amount of energy in something is the same amount of pressure in it if you're talking about something that has kinetic energy. It's as simple as
that. I guess you're smarter than I am.
I guess I am, bro.
And just to clarify something, by the way.
I really don't think so.
And just to clarify something, by the way, Gently's channel, are you a flat earther or you accept the globe?
I accept the globe with both hands. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. At first I thought you was a flat earther. That's why I thought you was making his point. So
No.
And SC.
I kind of, sorry, I kind of am making his point, or he doesn't understand the point, and he's trying to argue the point sort of back-asswards. I was arguing his point, but then, yeah, carry on.
And what about you, Maxwell? Maxwell has a good question he put into the chat, but thank you for joining. He can ask himself. He wants to ask you a question, SC Montreal.
Now, what's vacuum? What's your definition of vacuum?
Who are you talking to?
He's talking to you, C Montreal. He's asking you what is a vacuum, or what's your definition of a vacuum?
Definition of a vacuum?
Yes.
Oh, a space devoid of air, of pretty much everything.
So you're saying it's a negative pressure?
Yeah, especially in space, it's minus torr or something or other. I'm not an expert, but just use your logic.
That's exception. There's no such thing as negative pressure. It doesn't exist.
Nope.
What do you
Do you think?
Go ahead, Schrodinger.
Hold on. Yeah. Do you think 10 to the negative 17 is a negative number?
I don't know. Is it?
I asked you first.
Wait, since there's a negative there, like I said, I'm not an expert.
Okay, I'm just going to let that sit and fester.
So that raises a very interesting question for me. You just said you're not an expert. You just admitted that to yourself, which I appreciate. How do you conclude then that you know better than these people who are experts and spent their lives studying this stuff? how do you conclude that you know better, or what do you get that from?
It's very simple. Plain. Did you ever see pressure without a container?
No, let's back up. Let's back up.
Very simple.
No, let's back up. I want you to literally answer this specific question. He just asked you a question about a number that, in my understanding, even though it's been a while, I used to be good at math, but it's going to lead to a very, very small decimal, not a negative, a very, very small decimal. But you said, well, there's a negative there, so obviously you didn't understand a number. Seems like you're thinking about it might be a negative number, and you admitted that you're not an expert. So is it possible, and I'm going to ask this a different way, is it possible that since you're not an expert, and these people are, and they're saying something different, is it possible that maybe you just don't understand what they're saying, and maybe you should look at it more closely and give it a more critical gaze? Do you think that might be possible?
Yes, for sure. We can always learn more. The question is, I keep asking, show me one example of this, and then I'll be quiet.
He already gave you
one
an
example.
He already gave you an example. He gave you the example. I believe that was, and I apologize, I'm still learning everybody. I can scroll up and see exactly who it was to make sure I believe it was Maxwell. Maxwell said, no, I think Maxwell asked about the vacuum. Who was it that asked about the mountain, the difference between here and the mountain? Was it Gently?
The gradient pressure.
The gradient, yes. I think there was Gently's channel. Gently's channel pointed out the fact that there's lower pressure at the top of a mountain, and there's at least and more pressure on the ground. And I brought it up even to where airplanes are, and there's no barrier between those two pressure gradients. So that's evidence right there that you can have pressure and not have a container. No,
it's not. I explained you that.
All right, so let's look at it this way. You pointed to a car tire, right? What would happen? What would happen if I was to puncture a car tire that's under that? You think it's a car tire? Like I went to the mechanic, like you said, and I said, hey, put some air in my tire without a tire. He said, no, I need a tire. So I said, okay, well, give me a tire too. So he gives me a tire. He pumps it up. He pumps it up to the 40 psi. Let's say that the manufacturer said it should be. And now I drive off, but then I stab that tire with a knife. What happens what happens there?
What's pretty obvious. The air escapes.
Okay, and why does the air escape?
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Because the fact that
you have to ask about
the fact that you have to ask, the fact that the difference in pressure between the top of a mountain and the bottom of a mountain is not enough for you tells me that there may be some lack of clarity around this, or how it relates. So first I want to clarify.
I think you're the one with the lack of clarity. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay. Well, why don't you
can't have a pressure gradient without the container first. Very simple.
So let's finish this analogy then, if you wouldn't mind. So as you said, the air escapes from the tire. Why does the air escape from the tire into the air around it?
Why does it escape? Because you put a hole in it, and it's entropy.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
It's going from.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, go ahead.
So is escaping is entropy. So let's say I have the tire is at 40 psi, and let's say I put it in the room. Let's say this room is absolutely sealed. And the air in the room is at 14 psi. So we have the tire in the room, and the air inside the tire is 60 psi or 40, whatever. Let's say 60 psi, since that's what I said last. And the air in the room around it is 14 psi. Let's say I have some device up in there that punctures the tire. So again, we have a tire at 60 psi, a room at 14 psi. It's sealed. I puncture the tire. What happens with the air pressure in the tire in the room? What would you say happens in that scenario?
Well, thinking logically, it would escape into the 14 psi.
Okay. And then what would you say would be the
other room?
Okay. So the air in the 60 psi tire would escape into the room. And what would you say then would be the air pressure in the... So after we let that sit for, let's say, 2 days, room is sealed, some device punctures the tire, the room is not open, so now the 60 psi tire has a big hole in it. What happens to the air pressure in the room and what happens to the air pressure in the tire? What is the relation between them now?
That's a good question. I have to think on that. It would probably escape into the 14 psi, but I'm not sure. Will it increase, or I really can't speak on something I don't know.
Okay, then. If you don't understand this, that would explain why his example is not enough for you. When you understand this, then you'll understand why saying the air pressure at the bottom of a mountain versus the air pressure at the top of a mountain is proof that you don't need a container. So what you may want to do is look into that.
No, that's ridiculous. No, sorry, excuse me. You're using an example of a sealed room.
Yes,
what does that mean? That means absolutely nothing.
Okay,
we're talking about the Earth here.
This is why,
and the Earth is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I want you to finish. I want to hear what you have to say.
What I'm trying to explain to you is you're making a hypothetical situation here, which means absolutely nothing. What you need to do is understand just one thing. You have to show me air pressure on Earth without a container. Any other mumbo jumbo series of events that you create means nothing.
You may not
it's as simple as that.
You may not accept it, sir, but every time you walk outside, that's what you experience. You may not accept it, but every time you walk outside, that's your experience. But this is what I'll do.
You're assuming this, sir. You are assuming this.
You can go.
This is what we've been led to believe by the magicians that taught us science.
I tell
but
you
this
what,
is not true. You're just seeing.
Let me explain my side. I don't expect you to accept this. But just so in case you do look into it and what have you, and just for the people who's listening and for the stream, I'll explain why I made that point, and I'll explain what happens. Okay? Are you interested in listening and hearing?
Sure, of course.
So we're going back to that analogy. We have the room that's sealed. The room is 14 psi. The tire inside is 60 psi. There's a device in there to puncture the tire. The room is still sealed. Device punctures the tire. As you said, the air will escape. And you said, well, you don't know exactly what's going to happen after that. You're not really sure. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Since the air in the tire is at a higher psi than the room, the pressure of the tire pushes it out. That's why they said that there's no negative pressure vacuum. When we talk about a vacuum, it's not really a vacuum that sucks things. It's just basically very, 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 very little pressure because there's still like particles and stuff floating around and things like that. But it's not really sucking. What happens is the air pressure in the room, in the tire, is pushed out because of the increased pressure inside the tire. And being that there's, let's say if the tire wasn't in the room, the whole room would be 14 psi. But now we have a little pocket of the room represented by the tire that's higher than 14 psi. So there's a lot more air than what would equalize at a 14 psi room. And you have some background noise. Maybe you should turn yourself on mute, or I can mute you temporarily to you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. So, being that there's more air in the tire than would take up that same space if the whole room was 14 psi with no tire, since that air there's more air than what would fill up 14 psi, it increases the overall psi of the room. So that air in the tire escapes, and now instead of the room being a perfect 14 psi, now the room is, let's say, depending on the size of the room, it may be 14.1 or it may be 14.5. It depends on the size of the room. But depending on the size of the room, the air pressure of the entire room will increase and it'll equalize. So what will happen is the room, but notice before you didn't have that answer. I understand you may agree now that I explained it, but when I asked you yourself, you didn't have that answer. You didn't know. You didn't understand.
Okay, was I lying? I wasn't lying or trying to act smart or anything. I just told you I didn't know.
Good, but and I appreciate your honesty. A lot of flat earthers that I've talked to would not admit that. But now it makes sense, right? It makes sense that it would equalize in that room, right?
No, not equalize. It should be a little bit greater, according to what you're saying. Now that I think about it, it should be just a touch greater, no?
That's correct. That's what I mean by equalize.
If one is 60 and the other one is 14.
When I say equalize, in other words, what I'm saying is when that tire was contained, it had its pressure, and the room had its pressure. But now, since we open them up to each other, the pressure equalizes between the room and the open tire. So now the pressure in the whole system will be the same. Basically, it's one system. They're not separate anymore. It'll all
Correct,
be
but it should be
14.0.
higher.
Exactly.
It should be higher, though.
A little bit higher. So now we
Okay,
understand
agreed.
that if you have a container and you have something in that container with a higher pressure, and the barrier between those two things are released, the pressure between both of those things equalize. So when we think about the mountain, what you're saying is there's a container, or there has to be a container to cause air pressure in the room, but we don't see that happening. We don't see the pressure at ground level equalizing with the pressure at the top of a mountain. And we don't see the pressure at the top of a mountain equalizing with 30,000 feet where an airplane is. They still have to put themselves in the pressurized room. So if what you're saying is true, if it's the container that causes pressure, it should all equalize inside that container, just like how the pressure equalizes inside that room. So just like how, you see what I'm
very
saying?
easily.
Go ahead.
Like I explained this to you before, not you or somebody else. The Earth is a dynamic system. That means we have water, we have rain, we have wind, so that mixes everything up. It's very simple. This is why you have a pressure gradient. In the tire, it's just sitting there. There's no pressure gradient. It's very simple to understand.
What you said just contradicted yourself. You said that the storms and everything mixes things up. So, but there's a consistent difference in pressure between ground level and the top of a mountain. It's consistent. It doesn't just mix up and change. It's very consistent. Anybody wants to add something to what I said?
Yeah, I would like to add something.
Go ahead.
It is consistent, and that's how barometric altimeters are accurate. If it was just a tumultuous system, then we couldn't use a barometric altimeter for a pilot to say, I'm at 3,000 feet, I'm at 4,000 feet. Also, if you want to see pressure next to a vacuum in an open system, you can go to Blue Marble Science. He did an experiment recently that shows that. An open container with different pressures inside.
Was that with the gas, the heavy gas?
He's asking if there was a heavier gas or something, Schrodinger. Maybe something came up. Maybe he'll be right back.
I'm going to say yes, probably with heavier gas, because that's exactly what we're at.
He used chlorhexafluoride.
Yeah, but come back in a half an hour or an hour and you'll see that gas will dissipate. Makes no sense. These are disproven things.
He did it for 4 hours. Go to his channel and you can see it.
Okay, after 4 hours, what happened to the gas?
I'm not sure.
I mean, come on, guys. This is like kindergarten stuff here you're talking about. Seriously.
And let me address
exactly.
Exactly. Let me address Ben D. Light. He was saying we witness pressure change with weather systems, no container required. You're right. Like when there's a hurricane or something, there's an obvious local pressure change. But what me and Schrodinger were talking about was overall, on the whole, the pressure at the top of a mountain is less than the pressure at ground level. There might be some kind of variations if there's a storm or if the wind blows and so on and so forth. But there's not an equalization like what happens inside the room with a locked room with a tire that's punctured. There's nothing like that. I mean, even in that room, it's possible you might find, like going to Schrodinger's point, even in that same exact locked room scenario, we reenacted that. You might find a slight difference of pressure at the floor level than the top of the room, because maybe there's somebody farted before they left and there's a little bit of heavier gas in there or something, or louder gas, right? I mean, there might be some slight difference, but overall the room is going to be
gradient in that room, but it would be negligible.
Very negligible, exactly. It'll be so very slight. I mean, I'm pretty sure even in this room there's a pressure gradient. It's very slight, but generally there's like 14 psi or something at the ground, and it's like, I don't know, 5 or 11 or something at a mountain. I don't know the exact numbers, but we all agree that there's a pressure gradient that's very consistent. So unless
Darryl, if I may.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's very easy to understand. It depends on the medium you're in. When you're in the medium of the atmosphere, that's the way it works. I'll give you an example. If you're in the ocean, isn't the pressure more when you go down than when you come up?
Yes.
That's all it is. It's the medium that you're in.
What causes that? What would you say causes that?
You beat me to it. That's what I was just about to ask.
What causes what?
What you just said. You
said what causes
ahead,
greater pressure as you go down in depth?
Well, it's simple. It's the pressure, the weight of the water.
Pressure is not a force.
No. Let me give him some time. So it's the weight of the water. What causes that weight?
You're gonna tell me gravity now, right?
I didn't tell you anything. I asked you a question. I asked you a question.
I know what you're gonna say before you say it, dude.
Yes.
This stuff has already been around and around and around for years.
There's no more to discuss then. Anybody else wants to join the chat or something or talk about something else?
What do you mean there's no more to discuss?
You already understand it. Even though you're not an expert, you somehow understand it completely or something, or just know that they're wrong. It doesn't make any sense to me, but you have it, brother. I'm not going to argue with y'all anymore.
Yeah, at SC Montreal, you cited buoyancy. Do you know that the formula for buoyancy has G in it?
Yes, I do. I don't agree with it.
Okay, well then take G out of the formula and see what happens.
Or put it this way: do you have a
First
more
of all,
accurate?
Okay, hold on. Prove to me your G.
No. Let's back it up.
First of all, which G are you talking about? Newtonian or Einsteinian?
No, I have something better. Since you have a more accurate understanding of buoyancy, obviously, what is your formula for buoyancy?
I don't need a formula. I asked you a question. Which gravity are you talking about? Newtonian or Einsteinian?
Go ahead, Short.
Which one are you talking about?
Do your thing.
They're interchangeable on the scales that we're talking about. Now,
no, sir. They're not.
Hold on.
One superseded the other one.
I answered your question. Now I have a follow-up question. If you're going to build, I hail from the United States Navy. When we build ships, we calculate how big of a surface area the bottom of that ship needs to be. Would you be comfortable designing a Navy ship and not using a formula for buoyancy and then trusting that ship is going to float? We're talking maybe like a $4.3 billion aircraft carrier. Would you be willing to not use a buoyancy formula when designing that ship? Question mark.
Of course not.
Thank you.
Of course I would not be. Since you're a Navy man, you said, right?
Yes, I'm a retired U.S. Navy officer.
First of all, I have great respect for you, number one.
Thank you.
Number two, laser targeting. A Navy can target a vessel well beyond the curve. I believe it's like 50 or 60 miles. You have this beam laser. How is that possible, sir?
Because we use
if the Earth is curved.
We use third-party lasing of that target. So typically you would have something like a helicopter that is lasing that target, or perhaps a special operations team that's on the ground, say in the mountains of Kandahar, that is lasing a high-value target. And then the ship or even a ground-based system would launch that missile. It will lock on to that laser once it gets to altitude. That's how laser ranging works. I can do this all day.
Even if you don't have... Sorry, I understood that there's a certain type of pencil laser that can acquire a target direct line of sight over 50 miles. Was I wrong in that assumption?
No, you're not wrong, because for example, the FA-18 Super Hornet has lasers, and it can lock on to a target with its laser, but it's at altitude.
No,
another example
I was referring to ship-based lasers, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll finish. Our destroyers and cruisers carry the Tomahawk missile that can be launched from the ship, get to altitude, and then laser the target from the actual missile and guide itself in, or it can be steered from the ship from Combat Information Center. Again, I can do this all day.
Okay, I stand corrected then. I thought that you can do it from sea level at over 50 miles.
No, from sea level at over 50 miles, we would get, so for instance, we would have, say there's a team on the ground, an Army platoon, and they've got an issue with something. So they would make what is called a call for fire. That call for fire would come to the ship. The team on the ground would tell us where these people are. They would give us a MGRS coordinates, which is the military grid reference system. We would plug that into our fire control system, launch the missile, and then the bad guy goes from alive to dead.
Okay, I stand corrected then, because I heard somebody say, he was from the Navy as well, that they have a pencil laser which can target direct sight over 60 miles. I stand corrected then.
I really appreciate you acknowledging that. Thank you.
So I want to say something.
I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, I agree, man. I respect that. So I've spoken with flat earthers before, and I point out something that they didn't know, or point out something that they're wrong about, and they just right away change the subject. But you acknowledged that you didn't understand exactly what was going on there, or you had incorrect information given to you. You acknowledged you didn't know what happened in the room after the tire was punctured. So I respect that, brother. I respect that.
Yes, sir. I have no ego trip here.
I do have a question though. Like, so he pointed out, like you said, basically, if I understood you correctly, that what causes the difference in pressure from the top and the bottom is the weight of the water, and what causes that weight is buoyancy. Is that correct?
Correct.
So obviously that contradicts what the mainstream scientists say, right? What do you think they're doing? Like, do you think they're wrong, or do you think they're lying? Do you think they're controlled? Like, do what I say, I'm going to kill you, or like, what do you think is going on with these scientists that are saying that gravity causes buoyancy and air pressure on the planet and things like that?
Sure. I've been studying this for a while. It's a contradiction. They say one thing out one side of their mouth, and then they say another. Example, Newtonian versus Einsteinian gravity.
Mm-hmm.
One is a pulling force, the other one is a curvature of bending of space-time. Like, you got to be really whacked out to believe that. You know, first of all, which one is true? Is it a pulling force? Or is it a curvature of bending of space-time? I can't even say it without laughing.
Can I answer?
Certainly. Do your thing.
Sure.
Well, you can't. Einstein's theory is exactly what it is. It's just a theory. Because if you dig deeper, it goes into there is actually a pulling force and a pushing force in gravity if you dig into it even deeper. So Einstein is just, it's a good idea. It's the only explanation that makes any sense.
Well, it's the current idea which superseded the other idea.
No, there's
Newtonian.
more current ideas. They're just not recognized in science like Einstein was because of financial gains that they all had at the time. So.
Okay, let me ask you guys something.
Well, hold on. Let me finish this point if I would. Please hold on to that question. But to make sure I'm understanding properly, you're saying they're wrong. That's what you're saying?
Who, me?
I'm talking to
I'm saying one doesn't make sense. Yes, correct. I'm saying they're wrong.
They're wrong. So they're doing the best they can. They're just wrong.
Well, look, you can't have two theories.
But
Which
I
one
just
is
want to
right?
make sure I fully clarify this directly. You're saying they're not lying. They're not controlled by the government or something. They're doing the best they can, but they're just wrong.
Here, can I add something to?
Well, no, that's a different thing. I didn't say that.
That's the answer I would like to learn from you.
What makes you think that they're both not right?
Well, first of all, let me answer his question first. Why I believe, I don't really believe they're wrong, because I cannot be smarter than a scientist, and a lot of other people cannot be smarter than them. I believe that they see the differences, but they want to keep getting paid. They can't speak out.
Okay.
Because how could somebody believe that space and time curves? Like, think about it.
Well,
just think about that.
So in other words, you're saying that they know that it's not right, but they don't want to end their paycheck. So they're
most of them, yes.
So they're dishonest. Is what's going on.
No, they're not dishonest. They have to make a living.
Well, in other words, if you know that
if you're a Democrat, you're not gonna. Go ahead.
So if you know that the buoyancy formula, which includes G, is not right because buoyancy doesn't need gravity, and you still push the formula that it needs gravity to keep your job and keep getting paid, you don't think that's dishonest?
I do think it's dishonest,
okay,
yes.
So that means that what you're saying is the reason why what you're saying is different from what they're saying is that they know it's wrong, but they're just doing it, they're being dishonest about it.
They're towing the line. Yes,
Okay,
they're towing the line. If you want to get a job after university, you have to tow the line.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Go ahead, Maxwell. And Maxwell was next. Maxwell had a question. Go ahead, Maxwell.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, what makes you think they're not both correct? I mean, for an example, you can go back to electricity, and you can say, I've said this. I said this before they even came out with what they call conventional electricity. Now you can look this all up. So supposedly electricity flows from negative to positive, right? Well, that's not the case. It flows from positive to negative in conventional theory. So which one's correct? So you get what I'm saying? You can't, there's no doubt that they're suppressing information for technology advancement to keep it to who they want to advance technology, so nobody can just go out and create whatever.
Well, no, we've known about hole flow versus electron flow for as many years as I've been studying electronics.
Well, they didn't know about it when I first got into it.
Well, I don't know when you got into it, but
back in the 70s.
We've known this for years. It's just two different ways of looking at it. So hole flow flows in one direction because the electrons are flowing in the other direction that are filling these holes in the outer valence shells of the electrons.
Correct.
Yeah. I had a question and now I blanked on it. Oh, here's my question. General relativity. Do you understand that there have been experiments that have proved general relativity? And do you think they're fake?
Are you addressing me?
I'm addressing anyone that thinks that the warping of space-time is fake, because experiments have proved that it's not fake, at least to our understanding as of late.
Okay, I would just want to say one thing before somebody answers. Did you guys know that Einstein was the biggest plagiarist in the world?
Oh, that's interesting.
No citation required.
Well, he said they're dishonest, so we about to get into it. Here, what's your evidence of him plagiarizing like that?
I don't have the evidence with me now, but do a research and you'll see he plagiarized most of his stuff. For example, E equals MC squared came from his wife. Did you guys know that?
No, I'm not even asking you to present it right now. I'm saying, what is your evidence? Like, what is the general,
Well, this is the stuff that I've learned through my research on the subject. That apparently he's a big plagiarist.
No, you're missing me. I hear you saying you researched it. I'm asking, where did you read a book? Did you go online to a website? Did you talk to somebody? Just generally, where did you get that from?
Yes, all of that. I've heard other conversations on YouTube. I've checked him out on YouTube. You can do it yourself.
So
just type in.
So we get into the source. So these YouTube comments, who was it that was saying this?
I think I remember off the top of my head right now.
Okay, so I can hold while you go find a link. Yeah, go ahead and find your link. Is it like a YouTube video that you could search in your history or something? Or maybe you saved it in your favorites or one of your playlists or something?
Are you guys serious? You never heard this before?
No.
I can speak on
I've heard it.
Go ahead and speak, Schrodinger. Schrodinger said he's heard of it.
I didn't hear what you said, but I heard that E equals MC squared is not. It's not the holy grail. It's a great equation.
Search on it.
There's more than.
Okay, when you
as a matter of fact, he gave his Nobel Peace Prize to his wife, the money.
Oh,
search it. I'm not making this up.
Can speak on this.
And Schrodinger has a response. Go ahead, Schrodinger.
Yes. Okay. So when you're talking about Einstein's wife in this context, you're talking about his first wife, because he had three. His first wife was a physicist alongside him. They met when they were in school.
Correct.
Now, when he was doing his work on general and special relativity, she helped him with a lot of the calculations and things like that. Hold on, let me talk to my son real quick. Winston's quiet. Okay, I'm sorry. So he did, she helped him with a lot of the research, a lot of the math. And guess what? He cited her in the papers that he wrote on these experiments. And furthermore, he gave her the money for his Nobel Prize as a compensation for her granting him a divorce. She would not divorce him. And so he said, if you will divorce me when I win a Nobel Prize, you can have the money. Somebody's making a ton of background noise.
All right, I'll do some muting here.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So he said, if you will divorce me when I win the Nobel Prize, you can have the money. And it was so obvious at that point that he was going to win the Nobel Prize eventually. She accepted that. That's why she got the money, not because he plagiarized her. She basically proofread some of his work. I'm finished.
So same question, Schrodinger. Where did you get that from?
I got that from the writings that he made, the writings that his wife made, or his ex-wife. I think her last name was Frau.
Okay.
It was a German name.
Are these books like books you can get online or something?
Yeah, Einstein wrote many books. I believe his ex-wife published one or two.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you think also that it's odd that people are making the claim that he plagiarized her? She never made that claim.
Okay.
And it was a pre-existing arrangement prior to the confirmation of general relativity that this arrangement was made. So it wasn't like he won the Nobel Prize and holy shit, now I got to go protect my source where I really got it.
Okay.
YouTube's not a good source, sir.
So Schrodinger is saying he's read the words directly from Einstein. He's read the words directly from the wife of Einstein, and that's why he drew the conclusion from what they said directly that he didn't plagiarize from her. Basically, it was just, this is the prize for letting me get out your life. Is that correct?
Yes, he wanted a divorce because he wanted to marry another woman. She would not grant him that divorce, and so they came to this arrangement.
Okay, and
it's very well known. It's third party corroborated. Okay, so some dude on YouTube makes a video because he found out that he paid his ex-wife, and then just runs with it from there without doing any further investigation. Like I'm saying, YouTube is not a good source.
So you said that you got it from, my understanding is a YouTube video. We can give you some time to find your YouTube video. We can see who it is.
Hold on. When did I tell you that I got it from a YouTube video?
No, I'm talking about SE Montreal. I already clarified that you got yours from them directly.
Sorry.
And now I'm talking to SE Montreal. He said, from my understanding, that he got it from a video on YouTube. So we can give you some time to go ahead and get your YouTube video, and we can see where your sources are. Are you able to find those titles of those books, by the way, Schrodinger? Are you able to find the title of one of those books of yours?
I'm actually in my yard doing yard work and taking a break in the garage to answer these questions.
I'll try to see if I can find one. We appreciate you joining.
Yeah, it's easy. Just look up Einstein general relativity. You probably Google Scholar. The Google Scholar website would probably be your best bet, because Google Scholar only has peer-reviewed papers on it.
Okay, so I'll search for this for him, since thankfully he's taken time, a moment out of his yard work, to at least probably while the yard work, but to speak with us and distract himself a little bit. We appreciate that, Schrodinger. And I'll try to find the book that he's talking about while you look for your YouTube link or what have you, Montreal.
I can give you something to look for on YouTube.
Okay.
It'll be very illuminating for you guys. Check out Einstein's Idiots.
Is this a channel or something?
That doesn't sound very unbiased.
So what I'm asking for is
it's biased. It's fully biased. I'm not.
No, so let me just make sure I'm clear. That sounds like a channel that's talking generally down on Einstein. What I'm talking about is the specific source that you learned that he plagiarized his EMC C-square formula, whatever formula you're saying he plagiarized. I'm saying specifically wherever you learned that he plagiarized that. Now, if you're going to transition to, oh, this is just a channel that talks bad about it, that's telling me that you're not able to find that source. That's what that's telling me. So if you did find that piece of information from a source, please find that source so we can look at it. While I'm trying to find the source for what Schrodinger said.
Okay, fair enough. I don't remember exactly where it is. I'll do some research and get back to you on that.
So we could do it together another day. But it's very interesting that happened, and this is something that I find happens consistently with flat earth believers. Um, like for instance, I had a talk with Fight the Deception the other day, and we were talking about Himurari, and then he changed it to the ISS is basically fake, he showed a video of like that was supposedly showing wires in the ISS. And when I pointed out the fact that the video doesn't really prove there's wires there, then he just tried to want to go on to somewhere else. And I noticed the same thing here with you. Like we asked for evidence on that specific thing. He spoke to that specific thing and pointed to a book on that specific thing, and you changed to something general. And then when I pressed you on the specific, you said, well, you just don't have access to it right now. But if I wouldn't have noticed that, we could have been off talking about this other site and general stuff, and it would change the subject. So what I find is that it seems like you really want to know the truth, right? Maybe you should take a moment and research more directly. Maybe I would suggest, because, like you said, these scientists are lying. But and also you said we're talking about kindergarten stuff. You said that kindergarten stuff or child stuff. Yet you did not understand what happens if you puncture a tire with high pressure in a room with lower pressure. You did not understand that. So according to your own logic, you don't understand childhood stuff because you didn't understand that. You said we're talking about childhood stuff. You didn't understand that till I explained it to you. So obviously you don't understand childhood stuff yourself. You yourself said you're not an expert. And so what you're doing is you're taking things that you don't understand by your own admission, and which is a manly thing to admit. I'm not trying to put you down for not understanding. I'm simply pointing out the fact that you're taking things you don't understand and you're saying that they're lying about it because it doesn't match what you believe. That's not science. I would say, being that we've pointed out things that you don't understand, being that we've pointed out more than once, you pointed out the tire thing, you tried to talk about how they target things with lasers, and apparently that was proof in your mind that the Earth can't be flat. The Earth can't be flat if a laser can target something 70 miles away. But apparently you are wrong about that. Thankfully, we have a military person on the line who was able to let you know from personal experience how they do it. That's the second thing you didn't understand. Now we're talking about buoyancy. And you're taking out the G, saying, buoyancy causes weight. Maybe that's something you don't understand as well. Maybe it's not that the scientists are just wrong, even though they spent their entire lives studying this stuff and doing experiments.
Okay, Darryl, are you done? Are you done?
No, I'm not done.
Are you done burying me?
No, I'm not done. When I'm done, I'll stop talking. I'm not done. That's why I was still talking, right? So that should be obvious. So maybe instead of taking their buoyancy thing and saying they're lying to keep a paycheck, maybe you might want to consider that there's something you may not understand there as well. Just like there was something you didn't understand in the buoyancy room, in the PSI room. Just like there was something you didn't understand about the lasers. Maybe there's something you don't understand about buoyancy, and maybe these people are not generation after generation lying. So now I'm finished. What do you have to say?
Okay, you used two of my examples. Number one, I was honest about telling you I don't have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you didn't give me one example of the stuff I asked you. Not one.
So be specific now.
Tire
when
pressure,
you say the stuff you asked me,
pressure without a container.
Oh my gosh. So we went to that whole explanation.
Number two.
So we went to that whole
explanation.
Number two.
Let me finish. Let me finish, please, Darryl.
Okay.
Number two. Show me a ball and show me water gravitating around that ball. If you do those two things, I'll be happy. If not, you're just talking.
Okay. Well, we could disagree to disagree, sir. I think everybody on the panel and anybody.
No.
I think everybody on the panel and anybody who understands PSI and air pressure to at least a small degree understands that I already answered your question about the different air pressures with the mountain at the top and about mountain at the bottom, and demonstrating that those two pressures next to each other will equalize, that the pressures between the top and the bottom of the mountain doesn't equalize. I've already covered that. That you don't accept it doesn't mean I didn't present it. You just don't accept it. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I see no point in going further if you're just going to discard whatever I present and act like I didn't present anything at all. I went through a whole explanation, giving an example of a tire and a rim and it equalizes, and you brought up the tornadoes and it changes things, and we talked about the fact that the pressures is still constant. It may change a little bit. We went through all that. And you came back to just now to say you didn't answer it at all. So there's obviously no point in going forward. You're not going to accept what I say. What you say does not match the facts and reality. So of course I'm not going to accept what you say. We could disagree to disagree. If anybody else wants to go forward or wants to join the channel, I'm happy to let them on and listen. But I'm not going to try to explain more things to you that you're going to dismiss. And this is really why I had told C4 the other day I wasn't even going to talk to federal people anymore, because it's kind of like the time I spend talking to you, I could be furthering my knowledge of science. So I'm going to limit the time I spend doing that. I could be furthering my knowledge of
Darryl,
science.
with all due respect, I didn't ask you to explain to me. I asked you to show me. You showed me nothing except explanation. Show me pressure without a container. Very simple. You failed, my friend.
Well, I'll tell you what you can do. You can go to a mountain yourself. Now, you're right. I'm not showing you a mountain, even though I did point to the fact that there's likely an.
I didn't ask you about a mountain. I asked you pressure without a container. Very specific, sir.
So let's go ahead to the next person, guys. There's obviously no point.
Of course you can't answer that, right? Move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who's listening and understands these things to a basic degree understands that I answered your question fully. You're just not
SC
accepting.
Montreal wants to know pressure without a container, right?
Yes, that's what he's apparently asking for again.
Okay.
Andrew Gary.
Do you have your eyes open right now, Montreal?
Don't tell me to look outside, dude.
Don't
tell me to look outside.
You're looking around, right? That's
Please.
Pressure without a container.
I already told them.
No,
that.
That's your idea. That's your dream.
This is what you can do then. Go ahead and get you a very, very precise PSI calculator. And because to his point, I said there's likely a pressure gradient in this room. So you're looking at me right now on the camera, at least if you're looking at the whatchamacallit. But this is what you can do, though, because obviously us telling you something, us pointing to something is not going to work. Go get you a device that measures pressure, and go to the bottom of a mountain and measure the pressure, and then go to the top of the mountain and measure the pressure, and you'll see there's a difference. So you go ahead and do that yourself.
So what?
Then if that doesn't matter to you, then that shows your lack of understanding, which is what I was referring to earlier. Maybe you should spend more time researching rather than assuming you know better than these people who spent their lifetimes doing this, or assuming they're just lying because it doesn't match what you believe. Maybe, but again, I don't.
That's your problem, Barry.
What's my problem?
Barry, that's your problem. You're. I'll tell you.
Okay.
You're relying on other people telling you what is. All I'm asking you is do it for yourself, dude. Use your own brain.
Interesting.
Tire pressure without a container. Pressure without a container. If you don't have that, you have nothing.
I hear you, brother. So we appreciate you.
Sorry, man, but that's the way it is.
Either way, it's still entertaining talking to you. I guess that's why I still do it to some extent as well. It's entertaining. Seems to be entertaining for the people out there. So y'all want to go to a different topic? We talked about pressure without a container. He may not accept what we presented, but all of us presented our little aspect of that. I don't mind talking about your second topic too. I'm actually having fun. What was the second topic you wanted to talk about? What was the second one?
Sure. The second one was get a tennis ball and make water stay around it like it does on Earth.
Okay.
I mean, come on, this is kindergarten stuff, Barry.
If y'all would allow me, let me present the first bit of evidence for this. If y'all would allow me, I know it's not going to work, but just to amuse myself at the least. Just give me a moment.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Give me a moment here. Let me just get this evidence for you. I want to search in a different window. Give me a moment here. Let me find myself a window to search in. So where somebody cue the Jeopardy music while I search for this thing. So water curving.
Let me ask you guys something while you're searching.
Okay.
Do you guys ever watch the Nathan Oakley channel?
I feel like I'm reliving right now listening to you.
Well, I'm serious. You guys could learn a lot of stuff on that channel.
No.
All right. Well, to answer your water on a tennis ball thing, if you could, we're gonna do a bit of a thought experiment here. If you took a real strong magnet, like say from a big speaker or something, and then you took a weaker magnet, like say a refrigerator magnet, and there was 4 inches of space between those two magnets. If you tried to stick a bolt to that refrigerator magnet, because the speaker magnet is bigger, it would actually suck it down to the larger magnet because it's got a stronger force. It's the same thing with a tennis ball. If you try and get water to stick to a tennis ball, when you've got the gravitational pull of the earth that's way stronger than the tennis ball, the water's going to pull down towards earth.
Okay, makes sense to me. How come a butterfly can take off the surface of the earth then?
Because it counteracts gravity with lift from its wings.
Dude, come on. You can do better than that.
Mm-hmm. I can go in and explain to you how aircraft work because it's the same philosophy.
Aircraft is a whole different story.
No,
we're talking about uplift of the wings. That has nothing to do with it.
It's the exact same way a butterfly flies.
So boom.
Yeah, but
boom,
a butterfly is so light.
Speaking of aircraft, part of the mechanics that allows them to fly is gas pressure without a container.
But there's proof right there, guys. We don't got to talk no farther. You see that image? I'm not presenting him out. He probably can't see it. Let me present my image really fast. So he can see the proof. The proof that water can curve around the ball right there with your own eyes. Unmistakable.
I'm just seeing your D, Barry. I'm not seeing any picture.
I'm about to present right now. I'm about to do the smackdown on this thing, guys. That's what's about to happen right now.
Smackdown. Wow, I can't wait.
Smackdown. That's what's going on.
I can't wait.
Are you able to see it? Just let me know when you can see it so you can accept the globe finally. You see it?
Are you serious? Are you
yes, you see that on the left side? That's water. You see that blue? That's water right there. That's what that is right there. Boom. What you got?
Man, you're too funny, Darryl.
That's how we roll. We just bring it to him. That's how we roll.
Darryl, I would like to have a beer with you, dude.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun, man. I don't have no problem with y'all guys, man. This is entertaining. I guess that's why I do it in the end. But what's your problem with that evidence, though? What's your problem right there? Let's hear it.
Oh, come on, Darryl. You serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. That's evidence right there. That's a picture taken from space of the globe with the water right there. You can see it curving around the globe right there. Very clear.
Dude, I've seen better pictures in movies. Gravity has better.
Globe. You only see one side of it.
Okay, so hold up. I heard him say you can see better pictures in movies.
You don't see a full globe.
Okay, so they have some good CGI movies, and then somebody else said, what were you saying about the partial globe? The partial?
Yeah, that proves flat Earth.
Oh, are you serious? Who was that?
Come on, Maxwell, seriously.
Oh, he's okay. Boy, he had me for a second there. He had me. But yes, that's.
Don't make me argue with you too, Maxwell.
Let me increase this. I have it a bit skewed there, so it could look a certain way. But let me unskew it. So what's your problem with this picture, sir? What's your problem with this beautiful picture of the globe taken by the Himarabi satellite? What's your problem with this beautiful image?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to Montreal.
Okay, sure. I don't know where to begin. I mean, let's try this. 40 years, maybe 60 years of space exploration, and we have 2 pictures of the Earth. Does that seem a little funny to you guys?
Interesting. So if I can find more than 3 pictures of the Earth, then you'll accept that it's a globe? Is that what's going on here?
Dude, they're all CGI.
Oh,
they're all
okay.
CGI. Come on.
So as many as I find, they're CGI. Okay. So what's your proof that that's CGI? Like, how do you know that's CGI? That's what I would like to know.
From the mouth of the man who makes the pictures from NASA himself.
Oh, so you're saying that this is a CGI picture from NASA?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the man who was in charge of making all the images of Earth that you see are made from strips from satellite, and he says himself Nope. They're photoshopped because they have to be. Don't tell me you guys haven't heard this.
So this would be the logic then, because I just asked you a direct question and you told me no, and then you gave me a roundabout thing to the same answer. So you said the guy that makes all the pictures for NASA says that it's photoshopped from strips, and I have a picture of the Earth right here. So if all the pictures that are the Earth are CGI made from this guy that strips it together in Photoshop, that would mean that this is a picture made by him from Photoshop. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
Okay, so what's your proof or evidence that this picture is CGI? That's what I'm asking you.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. It was taken from a satellite?
Yes, from the
Correct,
Himmerari.
in space?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. That satellite is in a second law of thermodynamic violation. It cannot be there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll get cooked. It'll get squashed. That satellite cannot exist there.
Okay.
Okay.
How's that for
fuck's sake?
Okay.
No.
So let me ask you: what are the conditions at that location in space, or purportedly at that location in space? What are the conditions there?
I don't know this exact location.
Oh, hold on now.
They're around.
No, let's back up.
Let me finish.
Let's take it one step at a time. Okay, go ahead.
Let me finish. Let me finish. From what I know, most of the satellites are in an area of space.
No. That's why I wanted to stop you. No. I asked about this picture, which was taken by the Himmerari, and I heard you changing the subject again. Don't change the subject. You started by saying you do not know the exact location. So if you do not know the exact location, which means you do not know the conditions it's in, how do you know those conditions would destroy the satellite?
Agreed. You're right. Let me back up.
So
you tell me where this satellite is.
No. You said no. You're not gonna. I'm not gonna let you do it, sir. I'm not. We will stay at this point until I get off. I'm not gonna let you do it. You said that it's CGI.
Fine.
I asked you, what's your proof? I'm waiting for your proof that this picture is CGI. If you do not have the proof, say so. But I will not let you change the subject. I will not let you talk about another satellite or whatever. How do you know this picture is CGI?
Okay, fine. You're right. You're right. I admit it. I do not know.
Thank you.
Sure, you're right.
Thank you. So we're going to stick with that picture. Y'all want to talk about another subject?
No, I want to ask you a question now. After admitting that I wasn't correct about this.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay. Go.
Okay, fine. Now, this satellite that you're saying, the Himmerari satellite, where is it? What distance is it from Earth?
From I remember right, actually, I'll put up the website and show you specifically. Give me a moment. Let me see what it is.
It's over 22,000 miles away, something like 22,200 miles above Japan.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what the temperature is up there?
Yes. Do you know how temperature is transferred?
Temperature that it's up there, please.
It's in the thousands, but guess what? There's very, very few particles up there. Something like 1 per every centimeter or something like that. Let me give you an example. If you walk into a room and it's, say, 150 degrees, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you could stand it for a little while. What happens if you put your hand in water that's 150 degrees? You'll get burned because there's more density of particles. So if you go to outer space where there's almost no particles, the only way to impart that heat from the temperature of space to the Himmerari satellite is it has to incident with that particle. So very few particles, very little heat transfer, and the entirety of the satellite is a heat sink. So no, you're not. The temperature in space is almost entirely irrelevant.
So what do you have to say to that, Montreal?
I have to say that's a bunch of word salad.
Mm-hmm.
It would get baked and barbecued. Mm-hmm. Period.
So you're going back to the same thing that you couldn't prove a moment ago. Did you realize what you just did? you went back to making the same.
I said.
Huh?
I gave you a practical example. Did you even listen?
Yeah, he went straight back to when I pressed him on how does he know? He had to admit he doesn't know what the temperature is there. He doesn't know where it's at or what have you. But then when you gave him a practical example, he went back to the same claim. It's so interesting to observe. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Do you know different kind of heat transfers? There's conduction, convection, and radiation. Which one are you talking about, sir? Hello?
Get him.
Can't cut your tongue?
No, I was on mute. So what I was saying,
right.
Okay, I will tell you the difference between conduction and convection. Conduction is when two things are touching and there's a heat or energy transfer between the two. Convection is when there's a heat distribution around something, and that's how, like a convection oven, you're not touching the heat coil to your piece of meat, you're putting it in the oven and it's in a body of heat. So in space, these particles are so small that they have to actually touch the satellite to impart any heat to it. So that would be conduction. Does that answer your question, good sir?
How about radiation?
Radiation is not a factor because these particles aren't these particles aren't doing any sort of glowing. They're not radioactive. Any sort of heat field that would be around them, because they're almost microscopic in most cases, would be negible.
A question does come to mind, though, that you might be able to help us with. Like, so we feel the heat from the sun, even though the sun, is 93 million miles away, however the exact number is. And that heat, that energy passes through the vacuum of space, and we feel the heat. What would be that transference of the heat that we feel in our face when we step outside and put our face to the sun?
That would be radiation, because the sun and basically most stars are fusion reactions. So basically hydrogen particles are crashing in each other, fusing. They give off helium, and at the same time they release a photon. The light that we see on Earth is those photons coming from that fusion reaction of the sun.
Okay. And it's simply that the radiation that's hitting the satellite is obviously not enough to destroy it because there's a big heat sink.
Well, like I said, the Himawari is 22,000 miles away. It has solar panels on it that collect a lot of this energy, but photons are not particles. They do not have mass.
Awesome. So as far as the contact transference of heat, there's too little particles to transfer that heat to that degree. As far as the radiation is actually designed to collect and utilize the radiation. So what other argument might you have on that?
Photons are particles, and they can radiate heat on that. Check up on it.
Well, I think you're talking about the duality of light, photon versus wave.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, do you know that photons do not?
Check out the QE experiment. Check out the quantum eraser experiment, and you'll figure it out.
Are you serious?
I'm not familiar with that, guys. What's that? The quantum eraser experiment?
I'm not sure if he's talking about the person.
The double slit experiment.
Yes, the double slit experiment. Okay, I can explain that. I've got 7% battery, but I'm about to go plug in, so I think I should be good. Do you want to explain the double slit experiment, or do you want me to?
You should go. I read on it, but it's been years ago, and I didn't look at it deeply, so I can't really say I understand it well.
So you're citing the double slit experiment, but you're not prepared to explain what it is, except you're saying that that's proof for your claim.
I can explain what it is.
No, I'm the one that said I couldn't explain it, by the way. That wasn't Montreal.
Oh, no, I was asking, who was it that originally brought up the double slit experiment?
Montreal.
Yeah, I think
that was me.
You were using that as a proof that the heat was transferred or something, Montreal?
No, I was saying that duality between particles and waves.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, so
like I'm not an expert on it, but
You cited the double slit experiment. Tell us what it is.
Okay, sure. From the knowledge, the simple knowledge I have is when you take one particle and you fire it through one slit, you get a certain pattern. Now, when you take two slits and you put them side by side, you get like a wave pattern. So it's called like a wave pattern. It has like a duality. waves. It can act as a wave or it can act as a particle. And then there's depending on if you look at it or which path. It's very complicated. But that's the basic gist of it.
You know what the dual slit experiment proves?
I do, but I'm waiting for. I didn't know if he was finished.
My definition of proof is probably different than yours.
Oh, go ahead.
It proves that humankind will never understand to the full extent science.
Very well said, sir.
Of course we never will. Richard Feynman himself said, if you think you understand quantum physics, then you don't understand quantum physics. That's nothing to be ashamed of as humanity. Why would we be ashamed of that?
And by the way, guys, I'll close the stream in 15 minutes and get something to snack. Y'all welcome to stay on the meet and talk all y'all want. But just to let y'all know, I'll close the stream down and leave myself in 15 minutes.
Okay, let me. I'll run through the double slit experiment really fast. Okay, so they have a machine, a device that can shoot particles, so one photon at a time. They have two slits in its path. When they shoot a photon and it's not observed, so they don't have a sensing device, they only have what the result is on the other side of that slit. It creates what's called an interference pattern because it's a wave. So there's positive interference and negative interference, just like if you dropped a pedal in the water. When two waves connect, say you have one wave that's at a crest and one wave that's at a trough, they cancel each other out and you get nothing. If two waves are at a crest, then they build and it doubles. If you have two waves that are at a trough, they create a greater trough. So you get this interference pattern. So you can't really know where the particle is. But if you add a detector prior to the double slit, the what is called the interference pattern is the pattern that I'm talking about on the photosensitive device past the two double slits. That's called an interference pattern. If you add a detector prior to the two slits, that probability wave collapses and the photon either goes through one slit or the other. And if there's no detector in the first case that I was talking about with the interference pattern, the wave would go through both slits. That's the double slit experiment. It basically shows that when observed, a photon will collapse the interference pattern and become a particle. When unobserved, there is the interference pattern and it acts as a wave. That's the double slit experiment.
Roger.
Thank you, sir.
It's actually the knowledge of the which path.
Yeah.
But well done.
Well done, yeah. But they cannot determine which slit it will go through with certainty at any point.
Right. You can only say
correct.
You can only say where it's likely to go. You can't say where it's going to go. That's basically the basis of all quantum mechanics is this uncertainty. And that's the basis for my channel name, Schrodinger's Cat.
It almost proves that we live in some sort of contained system that doesn't want us to expose the knowledge of everything.
Correct. It also suggests
how do you arrive at that?
Because you cannot determine the outcome with scientific experimentation.
Okay, well, 1,000 years ago, we could have said that about lightning. We don't know what lightning is, so therefore we're in an enclosed system, and somebody wants us to not understand why these bolts of energy come down and kill our trees and sometimes our people and cattle.
Yeah, but they've reached roadblocks and roadblocks and roadblocks every time they try to come up with a new way to figure out why this is. That it just never doesn't happen.
But aren't we harnessing our knowledge
and I
of
don't
it?
think it will. Yeah,
Okay. So we have quantum computers coming online that are way beyond anything that we currently have with steady state devices.
They're slower than molasses, at
Actually,
real world calculations.
Quantum computers are orders of magnitude faster than our steady state computers.
Yeah, only in certain instances.
Well, the thing is that for quantum computers to work, because they generate so much power, you have to use cryogenics. And since basically when you use cryogenics, you can create a superconductor, which is a conductor that has almost no resistance. And so quantum computers are basically only useful in laboratories or somebody like the Pentagon, who could afford that sort of technology, because we cannot create room temperature superconductors at this time. But guess what? Every time we have the need for greater technology, somebody somewhere eventually comes up with it. They win a Nobel Prize, and we all get this greater technology. And that is going to happen at some point. It always has, and it always will, until the sun explodes.
Well, I'm gonna do this, guys, before I close the stream. What about we all share our final thoughts? And for the last 9 minutes we have, and again, the hangout will still be open if y'all want to stay and talk, but we can have a little closing argument for the people watching or who will watch later. What would y'all like to say?
I just want a great show.
Go ahead.
That's all I got to say. Great show, and I'm glad you guys are doing this. Not only you, but Jose and the other people that are doing the same thing. Keep it up. Good work.
Thank you, Maxwell. I appreciate it. What do you want to say, Schrodinger?
Everybody, please check out my channel, Schrodinger's Cat. You can see my icon there, and that's what it would look like if you look me up. I add new content. I try to do it once a week. Sometimes I do 2 a week. Sometimes I go 2 weeks and only make one. But I think we had a great talk today. This is a new stream that I only discovered today. And I'm always willing to, if anybody has any questions or wants to challenge anything that I said, then, come to my channel and let's talk. I am happy to be wrong.
Awesome.
You have no idea how much I love being wrong, because every time I'm wrong, that's an opportunity for me to fix myself. So I would almost rather be wrong sometimes, especially when I'm sort of on the fringes of my knowledge. And thanks for hosting, and hope you have me back soon.
Definitely, sir. Thank you. And again, everybody check out Schrodinger's Cat. As a matter of fact, let me make it so you can post your link to your channel here. One moment here. Do I see you? Just make a comment, and I could make it so you can post a link to your channel in the chat. Who else wants to give a comment?
I'll say that. Well, first off, first time running India on the YouTubes, so it was good to meet you and good hanging out. I had to bounce for a little bit there, but it was an enjoyable show. But I guess what I really want to say to the people listening is the Nathan Oakley rhetoric is not real. That's a business model. That's his business model that he's created to earn an income for himself. So these people who are listening to his show, don't be taking what he says literally and as gospel, because you're going to come into a hangout like this and we're just going to eat you alive. It's not real, guys. It's just a game. It's part of his business model. That's his business. This is what he does for a living. So take it for what it is.
And evidence of that, by the way, I'm pretty sure y'all saw that video where he was debating, who was your boy? What cat? Another cat.
Oh, conspiracy cats.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Cats
that was a
him.
verbal weapon. Oh my gosh. I must have heard that about 5 times already. It was awesome.
I'm not able to post a link. I think it's because I'm not a mod or something.
I just need to see your name so I can make you a mod. Post your channel link in the I'll just make a comment on the video. When you make a comment on a live video.
Okay, so not in the Google Hangouts chat or in here?
On the actual live chats on a YouTube video. Just make a random comment, and I'll be able to make you
let me go over there real fast.
Yeah. Who else has something you want to say to close it out?
I'll be back up doing my late night streams on Monday after my doxing issues. So, see you guys here. Darryl's first time running into you on your channel. It was an awesome show.
Awesome. Thank you for saying, sir. And that's Crashers RC. Make sure you check him out as well on his YouTube channel. And just post. You can post it there. I'll approve the comment, or just make a random comment. I can make you a mod as well. I don't know how to find people easily on this thing yet. You want to say something, Montreal? Looks like you're almost the last one. You want to get your last words in? Maybe he left already. You still here, SC Montreal?
I think he left.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess my final words would simply be, it was fun. I think that's why I still do it. I think I got to the point where I realized we won't be able to convince most of these people. But what I find, guys, is if we ask them questions about what they believe, what they think they know, as you saw, it just collapsed very easily. Ask them to prove what they say, it collapsed very easily. He started off by saying, all these pictures of CGI. Let's talk about this one. He wants to change the subject, and yeah, so like Angel was saying, huh?
Are you Darryl Berry Jr.?
Yes, Darryl E. Berry Jr. That's me. I'm gonna have to update my name on my this account that I have on my Meet thing. Apparently, it's just showing Darryl Berry, but yes, on YouTube I'm Darryl E. Berry Jr. And
I'm about to post. It's
and Matrix is cursing in the chat. Nobody can see it, but he's basically upset that we're talking about Montreal. For the record, I expected him to be here, and I'm not really saying anything I didn't say why he was here anyway. He doesn't understand and needs to look into it more. And I'll say why he was here, that he's changing the subject. I'm not saying anything I didn't say why he was here. I'm just basically summarizing it. But I expected him to be here. I thought we was all going to be here shutting it out. I made very clear that I was going to shut it down at the top of the hour, so it's not like I waited for him to leave or anything. I actually expected him to be here to talk to those guys after I got off. So yeah, it's nothing like that. But yeah, I'm going to say what I have to say. But I mean, that's the fact. I mean, he couldn't back up what he was saying. When we asked him questions about it, there were certain things he didn't understand that he called child's science, when understanding that is the basis of understanding why what he's saying doesn't work on a larger scale. So my point was just that all we have to do is ask them questions and demand that they explain the claims they make. I noticed time and time again they want us to explain this, explain that. They dismiss it anyway. Why don't we ask them to explain some of the claims they make, and it'll be apparent to themselves. But the good thing about him is he was honest enough to admit, hey, I don't understand what's going to happen when you puncture that tire, or I don't understand, what's one of the other ones? Oh, I can't prove that CGI. So yeah, you have anything you want to say, Stingray? I think you're one of the last people to respond. I think you are the last one. Anything you want to say on closing? And Stingray might have just been listening. So awesome, guys. Thank y'all for listening. You're welcome, Akum. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I'll make you a mod as well. You can help out if you see any crazy things on the channel. And I'll be back Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'll be back Sunday at 2 o'clock to talk about your video, Red. So hopefully you join. And I'm going to talk about adding that new walnut diamond video to the repertoire. So I hope you join on Sunday. That's 2 o'clock Eastern time. And 2 o'clock Central time. 2 o'clock Central time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. And I'll be on talking about that on tomorrow. So thank y'all for joining, guys. I'm glad y'all enjoyed. Y'all have a nice one.